in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed. And this taxing was first made when Cyrenius was governor of Syria. And all went to be taxed, everyone into his own city. And Joseph also went up from Galilee, out of the city of Nazareth, into Judea, unto the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the household and lineage of David, to be taxed with Mary, his espoused wife, being great with child. Being great with child. Just think about that for a moment. Being great with child. And so it was that while they were there, good God, my Bible looked like I'm in kindergarten. I color all in my Bible. And when I seen the word there this morning, I got a blue ink pen, Brother Hicks, and I started coloring with a highlighter where that word said there. And so it was that while they were there, the days were accomplished that she should be delivered. And she brought forth her firstborn son and wrapped him in swaddling clothes and laid him in a manger, because there was no room for them in the inn. If I can use for a title, you can't stop what God put in you from coming forth. You can't stop what God put in you from coming forth. Right. The last few weeks, I shared with Roy and a few more. I thought I was going to have to preach concerning Abraham and Sarah, when Sarah heard God talking to Abraham, and she began to laugh because of what she heard. And so I was studying that all week, and this morning I got up and began to read, and I was nowhere around Luke 1, and I couldn't find my regular Bible that don't have all these scribble marks, where I don't have to strain to see what I'm reading. And this Bible fell open, and I said, Lord, I done spent a whole lot of time in Genesis. And so I began to read this, Brother Tony, and the Lord began to speak to me about this, and this is what the Lord said to me. He said, Terrence, today I need you to preach to people that are really pregnant. Mm-hmm. And the illustration he gave me, Brother Tony, is there are some centers and there's some companies that are set up, Roy, that will help people to understand pregnancy. Mm-hmm. Kat, we've been blessed with a grandson, and as Kathy was going through her pregnancy, I think she just about Googled something every week. Because there was some information to help her in her pregnancy. Right. And so here in this text you have Luke, the doctor, and he's writing this letter to Theophilus, and he said, I think it's about time for me to set them things in order. He said, I've done careful study, and I need to give you these things in order of how they happened. We understand how in chapter 1, we understand that they have the lineage. And then we see that there was a man by the name of Zacharias. Amen. And we're not going to deal with a whole lot of Zacharias, but Zacharias was a priest, and it came a time when it was his time to go into the temple and to take care of the incense. And so while he was in there burning incense, he was taking care of his responsibility. There appeared an angel to him, unto him on the right-hand side of the altar. Lord have mercy. And that angel said to him that your prayer has been heard. And so as the angel began to talk to Zacharias, Roy, there were some people on the outside that was wondering, why is he standing there so long this time? Yeah. Why did he go to church this time? Or why did he have to go back to church at 6 o'clock? I thought that church usually was early in the morning at 8 or 11, but why are they back in there again? And so they're wondering what's happening and can't hear the conversation. Yeah. And the angel Gabriel begins to talk to Zacharias. And at the time when he's talking to him, he's telling him that your wife and you are going to give birth to a son. And so as he's talking to Zacharias, Zacharias begins to think about his situation. He begins to think about his body. He begins to think about his circumstance. And because he began to play all that in his mind, the Lord said, I got to allow you to be done for a season. Yeah. I got to shut your mouth for a season. And Roy, as I was sitting today, the Lord said, some of us are going through a period right now of shut up. Because you couldn't believe the promise. So God is allowing a lot of stuff to happen in your life right now that makes you shut up because you couldn't believe the promise. And so Zacharias is there listening, and the angel tells him, you got to name him John. Yeah. Can you imagine tears? And the Lord sends an angel to him. You know, once you have your firstborn, you want to name him after you. Somebody tell just a little bit of the truth. But the angel tells him, we got to switch this thing. And see, what God sometimes has to switch these patterns that we have. And so what happens, Zacharias comes out and he can't talk now. He has to talk with signals. Yeah. But somehow he was able to relay the message to Elizabeth. And so he tells her, I don't know how he told her, because the Lord said he wasn't going to be able to talk, but she, let me slow a little bit. Do you know that me and Sylvie can make a signal right now to each other? We ain't got to say nothing, and we'll understand each other. Y'all might not understand what we're saying. Amen. Yeah. You got to get you some signals. You got to get you some codes. Let me tell you what she told me yesterday. I ain't got this in my notes. It's free. She didn't text me. She called me from work yesterday and said, Terrence, KJ got my phone. I said, okay. And what she was doing was sending me a signal. So that you don't send me no signal through the phone. Lord have mercy. And so what happens, time ticks, and Zacharias, even though he can't talk, it says that Elizabeth conceived. And then as time has passed, and it says between 5 and 6 months, this same angel goes and appears to Mary, which happens to be the cousin. And the angel says, hail, thou art highly favored and blessed among women. Mary says in her mind, what kind of salutation is this? She would say, how in the world am I blessed and highly favored by God in looking at my situation? See, a lot of times we can't receive a promise because we're too busy looking at our situation. But your promise will change your situation. And so here is Mary. She's pregnant, and Elizabeth is pregnant. And things happen, Roy, because now Elizabeth goes over to Mary's house. And when Elizabeth goes over to Mary's house and they come in contact with each other, the babies in the womb leap. It's like when you're in church, when somebody says saying something to you, and even though they don't know what's in you, it causes your baby to leave. I told Cappy, I said, I believe that boy of yours don't know karate, because when we seen the ultrasound, all he was doing was kicking, and every now and then you see him run, he's still kicking. That's all he want to do is kick. He been kicking in the womb. He been letting you know that I'm in here. And I'm just trying to talk to you and let you know that there ought to be something inside of you kicking you every now and then. When you come to the house of God, there ought to be a promise or a prophecy that ought to be kicking you by now. And so the babies leap. And now Elizabeth gives birth. And the people, somebody say the people, tells her to name the baby Zacharias. And she said, no, not so. And so they motion for Zacharias, and because he can't talk, he kneels down on the writing table and writes John. As soon as he writes John, it say his tongue was loose. Lord have mercy. And that tells me that as soon as I do what God tells me to do, there's going to be some things that's going to be loose in my life. Yeah. It don't say later on, but it say as soon as he wrote John on the writing table, it said he began to talk now. And I know there's some stuff you're waiting on God to do, but God is saying, as soon as you do what I told you to do, there's going to be some stuff that's going to be released and loose into your life. It's going to come into full manifestation, but I'm waiting on you. The promise is waiting on you. Your promise is waiting on your obedience. So now we got a little boy by the name of John the Baptist. We can't bother that. And so here in chapter 2, it says, and it came to pass at Tite's time. We in December, and I know everybody anxious for those W-2s. See, we come to church, we don't want to tell it. Amen. And so they said there was a decree that went out. Now let me tell you what a decree is. A decree is an official order that is issued by a legal authority. It's a foreordaining will. The only people back then that could issue a decree was a king. All right. They had the power to start things into motion. And here we are in the New Testament, Brother Daniel. God has given us some power and some authority. He has given us, the rights to use his name. And so what you have the power to decree and set some things in motion. But our problem, Brother Dominic, is we don't understand, nor do we know the power that's been given to us. Yeah. So you got to know that it's legally my power to change things. It's legally in the spirit realm within my power to tell my body that you're not sick. It's within my power to tell my pocket that prosperity got to come. It's in my power to tell confusion that you tell a lie because he promised me peace. So I got the power to release some decrees in the spirit realm, and once I decree a thing, he said he'll establish it. That means if I decree it on earth, he has already agreed with me in heaven, and now when them two come to pass, they got to manifest. So here we have a decree. Here we have a decree. It's tax time. So David, and we got Joseph and we got Mary. And Roy, in this journey, in one of the other gospels, it said that they had to move. But Luke don't bother that. It says that they have to go back to their home place, which happens to be Bethlehem, a city of David. That word means house of bread to us, because we read left to right. But back then, they read right to left. So it's considered they had to go back to the bread house. Not only they going to the house of bread, Brother Hicks, but they going to the bread house. See, if I'm going to the Waffle House, you automatically know that I'm going to get some what? So if I'm going to the bread house, you know that I'm coming to get me some bread. And so it says in verse 5, it said to be